have been to the moon physically.
Okay.
The moon is quasi-physical. There are dimensions of it where physical structures exist. There are dimensions of it where physical beings exist. There are dimensions of it where beneath the lunar surface, as we have said, there are massive underground bases. So that's physically there, yet there are portions of the moon that operate in ways that are almost completely spiritual. These are the poles of the moon, the North and South Pole. So the
Hmm.
moon is the most quasi-physical of the other celestial bodies. The other celestial bodies after this, they become increasingly less and less and less densified. By the time you start getting into your planets Jupiter, by the time you start getting to your planet Saturn and beyond, you are working with planets, spheres, if you will, orbs that truly operate as spiritual multidimensional doors. This is what is meant when your scientists say it's mostly a gas giant. Your ancients used to say that in the morning mist, the spirits would emerge. Mist has
Hmm.
always been said, vapor has always been said to have a spiritual, ghostly, otherworld property. You all know this. That's why on Halloween you get fog machines. So the planets are like this. The bigger ones are like this. The smaller ones, a little more physical. The smaller ones are training to become like the bigger ones. Remember, it goes from matter to energy to spirit. So just as humans are evolving like this, your planets are doing the same. So just a few things we'll clarify with that. You have been to the moon, but not exactly at the time that was initially reported. Much of the footage is fabricated footage. This is no surprise to many of you. Not all of it is.
Okay.
You don't have all of it because they found many things that they don't know how to tell you about. They made contact. They can't document that. They couldn't shoot that live. They had a feeling it would happen. So they had other types of footage they could release that made it look a little more like something from an early version of National Geographic rather than something from Stargate Atlantis. This is where the hybridization program really picked up. Because once you made it to the moon, the beings there, well, let's just say some of them were impressed by it. They didn't know if you'd be able to do it in exactly the way that they had mentioned, which is different than the way you're told as to how you got there.
Hmm.
But again, the story you're given of how you've gotten to the moon and all of those intricate details and all of those players, only so much of that is true. It's more like historical fiction, if that makes sense. You're familiar with that term, historical fiction, in your literature? It's sort of like that, but it's not literature. It's, of course, filmed. It's more cinematic. But again, like we're saying, people have been to the moon, but that story is very different than the one you all know.